You ever heard the term unbig your back? Well, today we're going to be unsmalling your brain, a quote given to us by Charlamagne the God. He has made a third book by the name of Get Honest or Die Lying Why Small Talk Sucks. It's an interesting book. We'll be doing the book review today. So please make sure that you like, comment, and subscribe. And I'll see you guys in a bit.
May need this nugget of encouragement. Things will be alright, so quit your worry. I get it. The odds seem stacked back against the wall, but even consider it such, no, you'll stand tall.
Charlamagne the God has made a third book by Get Honest or Die Lying Why Small Talk Sucks. And today I'm doing the book review. Hi everyone, it's a Southern's Thing book club. We do great content here about book reviews that we enjoy or we do not like. And today I'm doing Charlamagne's the God's book. Now, I want to start by saying that this video is for entertainment and opinion based only. Please do not drag me in the comments because I love reading books in its entirety. It may be a few spoiler alerts in this video, but I hope that you guys enjoy the book review. Now, this book, I will not lie, when I first started off, I came about it the wrong way. Not just because at one point I didn't like Charlamagne, but I got a new respect for him the same way I had got with 50 Cent when I've read his book. This book is something that we all need to read because it brings topics that we need to discuss. Now, I did get a better respect and a better understanding of it once I read it. It did not take me multiple tries. As I was reading it, he was speaking to me, sounded like, by saying that most people, when they first start reading books that he has published, they kind of feel like, you know, they take multiple tries, but it didn't take me multiple tries. It took me about 6 hours to complete the book, but I really did take some things that I personally need to work on as a reality check for me, and we'll talk about some of those things. So a lot of the hip hop references that he had throughout the book was something around his era that he felt that was good to know. And I enjoyed it because we all like to talk to people who are as real as they can be. No one who is stuck up, no one who is trying to fake it. We really want people that are real. And he made sure that he left that as an authentic caption because throughout the book, we were dealing with someone who really showed their true colors in a good way. Don't take the book as a negative. I would definitely give it a 5-star because it makes you think about things. Now, I'm not really a self-help book person. I like a lot of different fictitious books. I like autobiographies, but this was one that I for sure needed to hear and sure needed to read. A couple of points that I did like at the beginning of it, the fact that he wanted us to be able to discuss it. Each chapter ended with let's discuss because it's a way for us to talk about things. Small talk is something that we all do. And it's something that we try to avoid for the major topics. So this book really helps us to understand that instead of us doing a small talk, we really need to just be direct and get to those points instead of beating around the bush. So I really enjoyed that. And let's get into the chapters of the book. Now, I will like to say that there will be a few little spoiler alerts within this video about the book and then also what things that were personal for me. So if you want to skip through my personal parts, I'll wait till the end, but then I'll talk about the chapters of what I enjoyed about the book. Chapter 1, we basically talk about small talk to you nice. Now, a lot of Black people and people in general just do not believe in therapy. What I liked about Charlamagne was how open he was about how he had to take certain steps in order to get to therapy. It took him a little while and it took a little journey, but it was something that he embraced and it really helped him throughout his life. So that first chapter was something that was touching to me. Even though I haven't really been through too much trauma, I don't really feel like I need a therapist, but I do write in my journal and I do put my thoughts on paper so that I can be able to get my thoughts out instead of bottling them in. Let's move on to chapter 2. Put some respect on the Taurus. Now, this one was very cute to me because As we all see with social media, people like to always be the hare. They always want to run ahead, but remember, the hare was the one that did not win the race. It was always the tortoise. Now, it may take some people a little while to get to the end of the race, but I like the fact that he brought that analogy out because we always want fast cash and great success. But where is the process to get to that success? Do we have the time to be able to work on ourselves to get to the finish line? If that's something that we need to work on, then put that down for your mental health list. But it's something that we should all be able to think about. Let's move on to chapter 3. Chapter 3 is the pursuit of ignorance. One quote that I did like in this chapter was the fact how he spoke of most people like to feel the feelings, then do the research. One thing I liked about this chapter is to get to know the unknown. Anybody who does not like to be in uncomfortable places, they really should get that in check. It's okay with not knowing something. And it's okay for you to basically, if you don't know the answer, go do the research. That's what a lot of people like to forget. They don't do their research and always take someone else. Either you're going on YouTube, you're going on social media and taking someone's answer and just recopying it instead of doing the research and doing it for yourself. So I did enjoy that chapter as well. Let's move on to chapter 4. I enjoyed this chapter because, of course, you're talking to a daddy's girl here. Father time. Chapter 4 is about father time. He did speak a little bit personally about his life as far as his father figure that was in his life and how he wasn't being monogamous, and he thought that that was a little strange at first until he started doing it, and so then he changed and went to therapy and started working on himself. The process of healing. And I like that part in the chapter when you talk about the process of healing, because we all need time to heal and we all need to learn from our mistakes. So I thought that was a great part of the chapter. All right, let's move to chapter 5. Chapter 5 talked about the evolutionary revolutionary. This part I enjoyed because it's the part of being evolving. When you talk about a person who evolves, it's something that we all need to discuss because we all need to grow. We're never too old or can get away from criticism. So it's important for us to make sure that we know how to heal and we know how to evolve. So I really did enjoy that chapter as well. Let's move to chapter 6. Now, chapter 6 is a touchy one because it's talking about DEI. Now, most people think of one DEI, but in his DEI, he's about delusion, entitlement, ignorance. Basically, you're giving what you're getting. A person who can't give anything can't take anything out. I'm going to be a little bit specific by an example that he used. What do you deserve versus what you don't deserve? What you deserve is good health care, a little peace of mind, being able to follow your dreams versus getting hindered because of your race or your sex or your age or gender, and keeping God first and making sure that you accomplish your dreams. Now, what you don't deserve is being able to have a 6-figure salary, having me time, being able to leave before your boss of 20 years does, and to be heard. It touched me a little bit because when we're young, 16, 17 years old, we all think that we're entitled to be able to take trips. We're entitled to have a certain pay grade. We're entitled to be able to go out and eat. And it's not something that we're entitled to do because we didn't put that hard work in. So that chapter especially helped me a little bit because it helped my mindset be moved a little bit to think in a different light. So let's move on to chapter 7. The language of politics is dead. Now, he spoke about this on his IG because when we're looking at politicians or really just anybody who we look up to, influencers, we're looking at someone who can keep it real. Some people don't like to curse, some people like to curse, but a person who doesn't curse and looks at a person that does curse as if they are completely ghetto is not the way to go about it. People who we can be approachable to, or people that we can relate to, gets our point across versus being so uptight. So I enjoyed this chapter because it lets me know that I need to be myself, and also making sure that we take chances, not always trying to play it safe or speaking in a safe tone. Sometimes we have to be a little edgy and speak outside of our comfort zone so that people can relate to us. If you're from the hood, ain't nothing wrong with that. But don't expect someone who's not from the hood to act as you do. But try to find neutral ground. Don't try to be someone that you're not. Playing it safe and really thinking about something and you really want to speak it out. If you can just speak how you feel versus holding it in, people will relate to you a whole lot more if you were just real. Let's move on to chapter 8. Chapter 8 is self-destruction. Now, this one is important to all of us because when we listen to certain music, we uplift people who have very negative affirmations, and they really push a certain type of culture onto us. Where are the uplifting for the people who have positive affirmations and are doing great for the community? Why are we not bringing more recognition to those people? So this one is very interesting to me because it seems like if we listen to certain things or praise certain people, we're praising them for the wrong reasons. We uplift one person who is a murderer, a killer, a drug dealer, and they are giving us bad vibes, where we have someone who's giving us positive vibes, who might be the soft-spoken one, or who is still, giving us things to think about. And we rather listen to someone who is of the complete opposite versus somebody who is positive. So it's important for us to give people their roses while they are here. And if they are promoting positive things, we need to uplift with them. All right, let's move on to chapter 9. Chapter 9 is one that my people will for sure enjoy, and that is being a tree hugger to the block. Now, tree hugging is something that is not a common practice of being in tune with nature. If you've never heard of grounding, and if you've never heard of meditation, if you've never heard of tree hugging, these are all things that you should reach out and try to figure out to do. Anyone who feels like they are not connected with the earth or do not know that you are one of the earth, remember, not to get too biblical, but remember, we come from dust. So making sure that you know who you are and being able to connect with nature is something that is very, very important. I enjoyed the point when he talked about taking your shoes off and being in the grass or being in the soil. That way you can really connect, and how those things that we don't even think about actually can bring us less depression, less stress, and actually can give us the right chakras and vibrations that we're looking for only through nature. All right, let's move on to chapter 10. Chapter 10 is about astronaut kids. This one hit me a little different, and I think this was one of my favorite ones because even though I don't have any kids, I really can use this point through me talking with best friend, with my mom, or talking with anybody who has a dream. Understand that we all have dreams, and instead of us bashing people because of the littlest things, we need to uplift and encourage people as they can. But people who do have kids, he brought out the fact that your kid might want to be an astronaut. The astronaut kids point particularly, instead of you saying, well, you got to, get on your studies a little bit harder in order to become an astronaut if you want to. But I don't think that's the best idea. Instead of you going ahead and automatically downing it, why don't you just uplift your child because they have dreams just like you have dreams? Astronomically is talking big to your kids, to a point where it's so big it's out of this world big, and you always can uplift one. He had a person that was also featuring with him in this chapter, and it's something that you should definitely read, and because it really was one of my favorites. All right, let's move on to chapter 11. All right, chapter 11 I enjoyed was called Funny or Die. Now, Funny or Die was cute to me because you do retain more information when it's connected to a joke. So if someone wants to be able to talk to you, I feel like you will retain it a lot better if it was connected to a joke. So this one was really cute. It was short and it was interesting to read. I enjoyed this one as well. So let's move on to chapter 12. Chapter 12 is called The Lying Game. This one was also a good one because we are so quick to lie to our best friends, to our people, to our family members in order to be seen as a bigger person. But if we humble ourselves and actually just move in silence, it will be a whole lot better than actually lying to people. This one was actually really good. I hope that it really will help people to discuss that, because when you have conversations and you talking to your friend, you're like, oh girl, well, I was doing this and I was doing that, and you're making it seem like you are bigger than what you are, like you got so much money and you broke. So instead of you actually putting on that front, just be yourself and move in silence. You don't have to tell everybody how much money you got or have to show it. So I enjoyed this one. All right, let's move on to chapter 13. Chapter 13 is WWNN, which is Worldwide Nigga Web. Now, this one was cute because when we think about IG, TikTok, Facebook, even right here on YouTube, a lot of people have a lot of opinions and love to show content that is nothing. What he's trying to get is don't contribute to the nonsense. The book is all about how small talk sucks. And so if you are small talking on top of contributing to other people's crazy content, which is considered nigga stuff, you are really contributing to nonsense. So it's something that maybe you should check for yourself. All right, let's move on to chapter 14. Chapter 14 is Listen to Your Elders, Bro. This one is touching because, like I said, I'm a person who is an old soul and definitely loves interacting with my elders. Now, not all people respect older people, and that's unfortunate because you can really get a lot of information and wisdom from them and can understand things before it happens in your life. So if it was a mistake back then, for them, you can learn from it for the mistake before it becomes a mistake for you. So I really do like that one. Chapter 15, here we come. This one was short and sweet, but it was real because it talked about small minds. Sometimes we like to keep people who can't uplift us around us because we don't want to be feeling as if we're changed or we are not the same. So we keep those people around, but those people could be hindering us from the bigger picture. So what I did like about that is just figuring out who your surrounding is, making sure that you understand that you have to let some people go. It was really touching. I really did like that one. Chapter 16, let's roll. Death of a Nation. This one was pretty much filled with politics and how we deal with white supremacy. It's a topic that I don't really like to talk about, so I'm going to keep on moving to chapter 17. Chapter 17 is talking loud and saying something. This one I enjoyed because it was a quote that I like to talk about. You don't have to be DMX all the time. It's okay for you to be LL Cool J. We don't have to always bark. We actually can speak softly and still get our point across. Sometimes we do have to play the game in order to get ahead. But what we want to remember is we got to get a message across. And we can do that subtly, humbly, without always barking. So this one was a good one as well. And let's move on to chapter 18. Chapter 18 is about same-day service. This one talks about how it's important for us to do things for others, but we don't have to boast about it. And we don't have to always say through money how we feel. Most people feel like if you're a person who has money, you have to automatically give money, but there's other ways that you can be able to help someone, and it could be through talking and through encouragement. So this one was really touching. All right, let's move on to chapter 19. Chapter 19 is about ego strength, communication through your ego. If you are a person who always has to flex about what you got, if you are a type of person who has to show that you are the big man and the big boss, you need to work out. And not just in the gym, but also work out with your communication with your ego. Sometimes you got to check yourself. And this was a good one to understand because this is something that in the world that we don't get a chance to do. So let's move on to chapter 20. Chapter 20 talked about headlines. He gave a couple little brief synopsis of situations that happened when he was lying, but people still believed him, and it was all based off of certain headlines that was said. Being careful and understanding where your resources come from and not believing everything that you hear. Chapter 21. This one I was touching for me. I put this one down on something that I need to work on, and that is the point. Chapter 21 is about the point. Being direct and actually not beating around the bush. When you ask someone for a favor or you're asking someone to do something for you, it's not for you to beat around the bush and write a full paragraph or set them up before you ask them to do something like, oh, well, hey, how's your day? What have you been doing? What's going on? How's the family? Stuff like that. And then ask for what you need. Just instead of you beating around the bush, just get to the point and be as direct as possible because people's time is valuable. Also, what I liked about this chapter that I also need to work on is if you have an idea, pitch your idea and don't be scared or hold back before it because people are not mind readers. They don't know what you're thinking. So if you are a person who is great at dancing or you're great at acting, and instead of you being scared and waiting until it's your time, make sure that you go out there and pitch your idea and do the best that you can, but be direct about it. Don't beat around the bush. All right, let's move on to chapter 22. Chapter 22 talked about I hear dead people. This one is talking about our ancestors and how we need to be able to connect with those people. Now, remember he talked about earlier how we should be able to talk to our elders, but this one is more focused on getting in touch with who you are, learning your history, learning your genealogy, being able to get connected with who you are. If you're able to do that, then you'll be a better person. 23, here we roll. Chapter 23 talked about small town, small talk. You might live in a very small area, and that's perfectly fine. Ain't nothing wrong with that. But are you going to live in that small town forever? Do you ever intend to move and do something bigger and better? Well, just because you live in a small town doesn't mean that you can't do those things. Just do it to the best of your ability. I enjoyed this because it helps us to get out of our comfort zone and think big. If you're able to think big, then big things will come your way. But if you keep thinking small, those small things are going to continue to hinder you. I like that one as well. So let's move on to chapter 24. 24 is about the gossip files. I enjoyed the gossip files is something that all of us have to deal with from high school until even now if you are a person who is in the social world. But are you going to let that gossip damage you? Do you really let it take over your entire world? Best to get your best resources and find out who is for you and who's not for you, but don't let the gossip get to your mind so bad that it hinders you from what you need to do. All right, let's move on to chapter 25. Chapter 25 talked about time for some action. Now, it was worded a little different, but I thought that it was really cute. Basically, do you and I'll do me. Sometimes we have this righteous action. The point he's trying to make is it's important for us to be more about action instead of being all about words. All right, let's move on to chapter 26. Chapter 26 is about imposterism. This one was catchy because it helps us to understand that if you're going to be in a room, try to get in that room and stay in that room. If you ever make it into the room where there are big people that look up to you or there are people that you inspire to be, please make sure that you get in that room, you stay in that room, and try not to be fake. Try not to be fake. Now, some of these chapters was a little repetitive, but it's stuff that repetitively we need to hear. Just cut the small talk. Stop trying to be fake. Be you. Let's move on to chapter 27. Chapter 27 was my third and last point that I enjoyed about it was the echo. It's important for us that when we speak on something that we shouldn't have people in our ear that's just really going to mimic us. Instead of criticizing us and actually giving us good feedback, you're just having a person that's listening to you and repeating back to you what you said. So if I'm saying to you, girl, I was trying to do this job and I just really felt like, it was challenging, or girl, my boss said something crazy to me and I just went off on him. And, oh, you were right about doing that. That was something that you should have did. Instead of doing that, somebody should check me and say, hey, remember, something that was a little bit more encouraging. So to me, this was really good because if you're keeping certain people around you, they're not giving you the feedback that you need and they're not criticizing you or pushing you to the level that you need to be. Echoing friends is what you don't want to have. Let's move on to chapter 28. Chapter 28 talked about true intentions. One little phrase that I liked that he did was make sure you keep up with your IG. And that's not just about Instagram. We're talking about our true intentions or our intentional goals. Making sure that we are every time reaching the goals that we need to reach. And that's not beating around the bush, that's not having small talk, and that's making sure that we are doing everything we can to make sure we reach those goals and changing lives. Chapter 29 talks about the blessed don't beef with the miserable. People on the internet, people on social media love gossip and they love to fight. Why are you giving them the energy that they are asking for? Completely turn your back on them because they are looking for confrontation and you don't need to be mixed up with that. So it's important for you to know how to walk away from certain situations like that. All in all, I truly enjoyed the book. I really appreciate Charlamagne to write this book. It really was something that we needed to talk about, something that we needed to discuss. And I intend to be discussing this book with you guys in the comments on our platforms for It's a Southern Things Book Club. It's a Southern Thing on IG, TikTok, and then, like I said again, on Telegram. If you enjoyed this book review or if you have some comments or stuff that you want to discuss throughout the chapters, something in specific, go ahead and hit it in the comments. I'll see you guys on the next book review, and I really hope that you enjoyed. And Charlamagne, if you want to send me an autographed copy of that book, I'm being direct. I'll see you.
May need this nugget of encouragement. Things will be alright, so quit your worry. I get it. The odds seem stacked back against the wall, but even consider it such, no, you'll stand tall. Sit and watch from the sidelines. One too many times, wicked games we play make me wanna lose my mind. Found solitude, knowing it'll be over soon. Ever need a boost? Count on me for the 1-2. Trouble don't last when the tough get going. Baby, all we do is win, so show me my